Good morning, Flagler. The doctors are in. I'm Dr. Scott Cleos.
And I'm Dr. Andrea Cleos.
We're here once again to talk about your health and health issues right here in Flagler, Volusia, and St. Johns County. Anything interesting in the world of medicine at the VA?
There is always interesting things in medicine. And today I had a guy come in and I actually had seen him for over a year. And all of a sudden, the last time I saw him, his wife came with him and we talked about how he can reverse his diabetes and his weight.
This is what we always talk about.
We do, but it's always exciting when the lights go off. And when people, the lights go off for the world around them, they go on to listen to what's right.
Okay.
And so what happens is
because when I think about the lights going off,
struggles with a
over.
lot of depression, anxiety, just life is painful and stressful. And when all of a sudden they actually engage in healthy eating, they get rid of excess caffeine and sugary, starchy foods, and they get to bed on time, it's like all the disease processes go away. And then they get rid of the junky food and they start eating vegetables and protein and they start exercising and they're so excited because they see 20, 30 pounds down and then they continue to exercise more and more and more. And then it's like you can't stop them. And that's when the transition from, I kind of am doing this to like, why not just live my life and enjoy it? And I don't need this crap. And it's really, I don't know, it's probably one of the best rewards ever. It's nice to be paid well, don't get me wrong, but when a patient listens and really is engaged, it's pretty amazing. Because what you've done is you help somebody change their life and live a better, more functioning life. And they're just happier. And as a physician, that's really what we shoot for, right?
Well, I mean, we want to do preventive medicine as best we can, but sometimes, things get away from individuals and we've got to help them get through a disease process. But it's always better if it's always easier to do maintenance than repair, right?
For sure.
So if you can live your life and maximize your mobility and your health, I think you're going to lead a more fulfilling life. I mean, I'm looking now at my age, at 60, I'm watching my colleagues absolutely fall apart. I mean, it's really frightening because, I see people in all levels of health and infirmity, and I see people are born right around I was born in 1964, so I see patients in 1962 to 1967 or even in the 70s. And they're coming down with some really bad things. And, whether it's a genetic predisposition or it's their lifestyle or a combination of the above, I don't know because I'm seeing them at a point in space-time. But it just shows shows me that, what you do in life really determines the quality you're going to have when you get to my age, right?
Well,
I mean,
sometimes they're unlucky, but
I thank God that I'm still able to do my job. Yeah. I mean, because some people can't even get out of bed at my age.
Yeah.
And that's the tough thing. So if you're listening to this and you're 20 years old and you think you're going to live forever, you're not. I'm going to tell you right now. And the best thing you can do is start taking care of yourself. The two things I would advise you to do: never too early to start saving for retirement. I was told that, didn't listen. And then it's never too early to start looking after your health, because at this point in time, for me, there's nothing more important than my health, right? You could save for retirement, and if you're falling apart, what'd you save all that money for?
Well, you're saving it so that somebody can take care of you as opposed to being in a nursing home.
Yeah, so you're either going to give it to someone to take care of you, or your kids are going to spend it.
Why not enjoy it and take travel trips and things like that? But
stay healthy.
But the older people, for those that are older that are struggling with disease, if you get rid of the junk, you get rid of the alcohol, regular alcohol intake hurts you, destroys your brain, makes you weaker, makes you angry, disrupts your family life. Get rid of the sugary, starchy foods, going out to dinner every night, eating late. This kills you. And it's fun to go out with friends, but if it slowly wears you out and takes you down and puts you in a nursing home, it's not worth it.
The problem is, at the time, they're having it's fun to go out and drink with your friends. I've been there. I've done it, right? Yeah. But, if you do it regularly every week, eventually every night,
times a month, 3 times a week,
that's going to catch up to you. And then, your quality of life. And, some people say, well, I want to live it fast and hard. But, that's all well and good, when you're 20 and you say, oh, if I live to 50, it's fine. before you know it, you're 50, and then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
And then
it's
before
too
you
late.
know it, you're forgetting who your name is and who your sister is and who your brother is and who your wife is.
It's like when the people come in and they're 30 some years old and I'm draining ascites out of their abdomen. It's fluid within their abdomen because they're in liver failure. And, I'm like, do you drink? No, I don't drink. Okay. Yeah. When's the last time you drank some? Well, last week, but I quit. I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure if it's a good idea to quit now or not,
No, it's always good to quit.
Is
You
it?
can reverse your life. I have had many people who had advanced fatty liver disease, advanced cirrhosis,
That's true.
who reverse
But I've
their
had people
life.
who have metastatic
And-
lung cancer who say, well, I'm going to stop smoking. I'm like, just keep going now.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Don't stop.
But always have hope. Always have hope that you can improve your state, but don't give up. What happens is you quit, and after a week it's frustrating. The alcohol calls your name because you can't deal with stress
Or people.
and you just screw it, I'm just going to drink again. Don't do that.
Yeah.
If you do it, be committed and get help to stay committed. Get coaching help, get mental health help, whatever it is to stay off the sauce, because that's a big problem. As we get older, it is one of the most common things that my people struggle with.
For sure. And if you're drinking to escape, the reality of life, people are just going to be jerks. I mean, that's just the way it is. And, most of the people are great, but every now and then you're going to run across somebody who's going to just make your life miserable. But that's why I get up every morning and I recite the Serenity Prayer, right? And it serves me well because every morning when I, think about what I'm going to do that day, I go in with the attitude that I'm going to change the things that I can and I'm going to accept the things that I can't, right? And the good thing about getting older is you now have the wisdom to know which is which, right? When you're young, you think you have a very dogmatic sense of right and wrong and you view the world as, basically your oyster and everyone should kowtow and cater to you, and that's not the case, right? And sometimes you got to wait for things. And this delayed gratification is hard to teach somebody who's 20-some years old. But as you get older, you realize, it doesn't have to happen overnight. It doesn't have to happen now. I can wait.
I see that in the older population, too, because they feel like they've worked their ass off their whole life. And then they're like, well, I deserve to have a drink every night if I want. Well, you do deserve it, but your brain's going to decay. So it depends on how you want to think about it.
But Andrea, that's if that's the way they want to live the lifetime. I mean, we all hopefully have the
They
life.
want to live that way, but then they don't want the consequences, the dementia, the liver problems, and the health issues, and the weight gain.
Hopefully we all have the life and the death that we want, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you can't have both. If you live the life that you want, and it's not conducive to longevity, you're going to have to suffer the consequences of the death that you didn't prepare for. But, hopefully we got both. I mean, you just got to prepare for both. But, we're none of us are leaving this earth alive. So, hopefully we go out the way we want to. Personally, I do not want to end up in a hospital with a tube in my throat. I'm very adamant about that.
Hopefully,
and I don't need anyone wiping my behind.
Exactly.
Just so you guys know, in case Andrea forgets.
Yeah,
so
hopefully.
I'm afraid she's going to keep me alive
Hopefully,
way
I don't
past
want
my
that either.
expiration
I'm
date.
trying to live a healthy life by exercising and eating well.
Yeah, that's all you can do. I mean,
and hopefully studying to know what is the best way to prevent Alzheimer's disease.
We all have, genetic predispositions, and I'm sure the things that we do in life are going to, basically have those phenotypic expressions of what our genetics dictate. And, what we can do is mitigate our genetic risk by living that good lifestyle. And that's it, and hopefully you just roll those dice and hope for the best and make sure every day counts. And that's the best advice I can give anyone out there. And I think it's pretty straightforward and kind of common sense. I did hear this week that there was a gentleman who wrote an expose or some kind of novel or book accusing the prior administration from hiding Biden's condition from the public. That's what I did. I'm like, no, really? Someone actually published a book about that. I'm like, what? Why would anyone think that was not done? I mean, It was blatantly obvious to all of us.
And he even went before the Supreme Court, and they basically admitted that he was demented and let him go for the crime that he committed. So, however you want to look at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's anyone who's in healthcare could have seen the signs and symptoms of dementia. We talked about it 5 years ago, when he was still vice president. He was demented then. but it's just, mind-boggling to me that this actually made the news, that someone, wrote a book that the previous administration hid his dementia. And you know what? I don't really care, that they tried to do that, because that is a wash
Deception.
in history. No, Andrew, that's what happens. When you have a administration, leadership, anyone in charge, if the leader then becomes ill, the people who are his cronies are going to do their best to hide that from the public. It's happened over and over again. That's not the first time, right? I mean, what about, you ever seen that story of King George? King George was supposed to be absolutely crazy. And I've heard different theories of, they said he had porphyria or something. His urine was blue because of he was excreting porphyrin. And, some say he just was bipolar, but whatever. The guy was crazy, but everyone around him did their best to try to hide it. But sometimes his craziness bubbled to the top and everyone got a glimpse of it. And they're like, oh, no, he's crazy. But, no one said anything, right? It was the same with Biden. What infuriates me is that there was a segment of the population that didn't think that he was senile. That's the problem that I had with it. It's like, yeah, the guy was senile. It was obvious to everyone. And there's still people out there that think, oh, no, he was a good president. He was supposed to be there. It's like, no, he's incompetent to be there. And he may have been a brilliant man at one point in his life, but he's past his expiration date. And for all of you still believing that he was, appropriate to be the president of the United States, you're nuts. I mean, I don't understand how you could. Now, I'm not saying that your alternative was any better, but you got to recognize the facts that this guy was not competent to be president. That's the bottom line. And whether the administration at the time hid that is completely irrelevant. They always do that. But if we're so stupid as, the governed that we can't recognize when our leaders are incompetent, that's our problem. So, unfortunately, a lot of our leaders seem to be incompetent now, so it's just tough to pick out which ones should actually be leading us. My theory behind that, Andrea, is that anyone who is competent, who would really do a good job, is already busy living their life doing something else.
They don't want to run the country.
And they don't want to run the country, and they don't want to run in politics. Politics is for those who've failed at everything else, in my opinion, or they've lived their life and they're already done with that part of their life, and they're moving on because they really feel like they need to serve. So, hopefully some of that will come back. I mean, I thought Ronald Reagan was an awesome president. He was true to his ideals. I mean, he did become senile after his presidency, maybe a little bit at the end there during the presidency. But, he was an actor, and he was the governor of California, and kind of made his way into politics.
I don't think he was senile in office.
No, he was senile at the end of his life.
Yeah, but I don't think he was senile. Who knows?
At the end
of his office.
He was always.
It was well after that he started having dementia issues.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably true, but he might have had the earlier signs of it. I mean, I don't know. He wasn't overt. I mean, Biden was overt. During office, you could tell that the guy just had that blank, faraway stare, and you just like, no, this guy's not right. But I remember when Reagan announced to the public that he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And, maybe he had a little element of that in the last couple of years of his presidency. But I think he surrounded himself with good people that helped him get through all of that, responsibly and effectively. But, I mean, you go back and you look at his speeches now, they were brilliant, in my opinion. I mean, the guy was always
a great orator.
He was a good orator and very committed to his party. And I don't care what party you come from, as long as you're, true to your convictions. I mean, if that's what you believe it all the time, not just when it's convenient for you or you can profit off of it or whatever. And I think he was one of those guys who was true to his convictions. So, but I can't wait to get this book about, the conspiracy theory about how the administration covered up Biden's senility. I'm sure I won't be able to put it down. I mean, every page is going to be like, yeah, I knew that already. Yeah, we knew that already. Speaking of books, I saw something, I don't know if it was true or not, but it was somewhere in the Midwest, and this guy was in a Walmart, and he was looking at the books in Walmart, and on one of them it says, Kamala Harris's contributions to the United States. And you open it up and it was blank pages from front to back.
That's terrible.
Yeah, but it was funny.
And probably people were buying it.
Yeah, just for nostalgic purposes. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. If you have any questions for myself or Dr. Andrew, you can email us at doctorsin@WNZF.com. You're listening to The Doctor's In on WNZF News Radio, 1550 AM, 94.9 FM. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
Thank you so much for recommending us to your family and friends. When you need a 30, 60, or 90-minute massage, it's real easy to book your appointment online. MassageByNatalie.org. MassageByNatalie.org.
Radiology Associates has been a trusted name in Volusia, Flagler, and St. Johns County for over 50 years. Radiology Associates is the first and only radiology provider to bring our neighbors of Flagler County 3 Tesla MRI, 64-slice CT, and time-of-flight PET CT in our Palm Coast Imaging and Town Center Imaging locations. This is our community. Our doctors live here and strive to provide only the best care to you, our neighbors. For more information about Radiology Associates, visit us online at radiologyassociatesimaging.com.
Don't even think about climbing that ladder.
We got a guy that'll do it for you.
If you're going to do it right with Benjamin Moore.
We've got the professional painters and the best paint.
Benjamin Moore, corner of Old Kings and Utility Drive.
Palm Coast.
And we're back. For those of you just joining us, we talked about a couple of different things. You had some success with a couple of your patients actually getting on the bandwagon and taking charge of their life.
I
gave you guys some advice on, basically reciting the Serenity Prayer every morning when you get up, and it really takes the edge off, because if you get to something and you're looking at someone just talking to you and you're like, they are absolutely crazy and there's nothing I'm going to do to change them, I'm just going to go along with this. And then it's just better, you just look at them and you're thinking to yourself, yep, you're crazy, but go ahead, say what you want to say, and I'm just going to sit back and nod my head in ascension. And then you just walk away because it's not worth it. You're not going to change them, right? And then, there's things that you can affect. You go in and you do your best to make things better, right? Because we all want to leave the world a little better than the way we found it.
And to sit and argue is not going to make things better. You want to solve problems. When we used to have an administrator at the VA, and I loved him because he said, don't complain unless you got a solution. And that's the best thing. People want to complain, but nobody wants a solution. But if you got solutions and they make sense, let's do them.
Absolutely.
Let's make this a better place.
Now, I don't want you to think I'm some kind of, saint who's figured it all out, because I still have a road rage issue. It's better than it was.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
It's better. It was really bad.
I'm saying the Serenity Prayer on this one.
No.
I'm silent.
Andrew, you got to admit it is better.
No, it's not.
No, because what I do now, you don't know. Because what I do now is I don't even look over to the side anymore. I don't engage.
Even since a month ago when I was in the car with you?
No, that woman from California was infuriating. That was a different story.
Well, that's still road rage.
Yeah, that was road rage. I wanted to drag her out of that car.
We should just not
beat her back to California.
We should just not have this conversation.
Yeah, well, that was an isolated incident, and I don't like these people coming in from like California and New York and exacting their wills on us because we're pretty happy down here in Florida, and we don't need that attitude down here. So. Okay. I'm going to use this as my soapbox. Okay. So if you're from California or New York, play nice in our sandbox.
Don't try to cut in front of Scott.
Yeah, we got a big sandbox down here. We want you guys to play nice in it. We don't tolerate that kind of attitude that you guys are trying to bring down here. We don't want you to California or New York or Florida. We like it just the way it is. Just FYI.
I hear you.
Yeah, and I've also gotten better with the road rage. I know, again, Andrea.
Serenity Prayer. I'm just calling the fifth on this one. But let's talk about Easter, because Easter's coming up. And it's a good time to have
We'll talk about this after the show.
Reflections on what your intentions are and the gratitudes that we should be having because of Easter. And so Passover is coming too. And you can explain the purpose of Passover and Easter become very important to our lives. Because without Jesus and Jesus' death, it would be hard for some of us to go to heaven. You want me to give a little
in-service on Passover?
You can give a little in-service on Passover. And then I want to make two announcements.
All right, guys, let's have a little Seder here. I don't have much time, but we all know what the Passover story is, right? I mean, after the Jews left Egypt from being in...
Before they left, right?
Before they left. No, see, I'm already messing it up. That's right.
That's all right.
Before they left, they they went to the Pharaoh and said, or Moses went to the Pharaoh and said, you can't keep treating my people like this. And God, looking after his people, exacted 10 plagues on the Egyptians, right? The frogs and the blood in the
when we grew up, you had to see that on TV every
was awesome, right?
Every spring. It was Easter, and it was not coming without watching the Ten Commandments.
So after the last
and the plagues,
the last plague, because Pharaoh had made a decree that all the firstborn children of the Jewish families would be executed, right? And so God rebuked him with that by killing all the firstborn children of Egypt, right? And so that's what the Passover story was. He told them, he said, I'm going to come through there. The angel of death is going to come through Egypt, and he is going to take out all the firstborn Egyptian sons. But you're going to mark your door if you're one of the chosen people, if you're one of the Israelites or whatever, you're going to paint your door in lamb's blood, right? So that's what that was all about. And the angel of death would then
like
pass
the sacrificial
over,
lamb, like Jesus
would then
is the
pass
sacrificial
over
lamb.
that house. So that's what the name Passover came from.
Family.
And so then, you have the parting of the Red Sea and the Jews wandering the desert for 40 years and eventually making it to their, promised land.
The land of milk and honey.
The land of milk and honey. I think they're still looking for it. But anyway, that's it. And the way that rolls over into the, Christian faith, of course, is Jesus' Last Supper was the Passover dinner, right? And they basically liken him to the sacrificial lamb,
this
basically
is my blood.
Basically dying for the
blood.
sins of people. So that's how the two are related, and they always occur about the same time.
Yeah,
I mean,
remember me.
A lot of these religious holidays occur around each other.
Well, the Christian and the Judeo-Christian holidays parallel each other, perhaps purposefully.
Well, supposedly, and I don't know if this is true or not, but when the Christians were a young faith, to avoid detection, because for a while they were prosecuting Christians. They were heretics.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah, for a long time. I mean, there was inquisitions, there was all kinds of stuff, and the to kind of hide in secrecy, they would celebrate these events during regular celebration. So when they were celebrating, they didn't stand out, right? So now it's the opposite. Now the Christians celebrate Christmas, and the Jews say, hey, it's Hanukkah. We're going to celebrate Hanukkah too. We're going to share some gifts.
But Rosh Hashanah has its own holiday.
Well, Rosh Hashanah is the new year. That's why that one always has its own.
August, September.
Yeah, because it's Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. It'll all come out on the, around September. But that you can't change that because that's the new year, right? And what is the
thing written in the book of life? You fast.
But I'm thinking of what's the name of the calendar that we follow? The solar calendar is the Julian calendar. The Julian calendar, right? So Julius Caesar, I think. I don't know if it's the Julian calendar, but that's a solar calendar, so it's got different times. So you got to celebrate the new year when it happens, which is around September. Right. I don't know the month. All right, but that's enough of that.
So anyways, I want to make two announcements before we hang up. We have Earth Day at the Cleo's home to celebrate and to help you understand the earth and the significance of the soil. So we have a food forest in our backyard. If any of those of you that are interested in coming, please check us out on shieldoflife.com and let us know you're interested, and we'll send you the address. But the backyard is
Don't eat the plums off my tree, though.
Truly a food forest. And part of it is because we want to honor the earth and treat it well so that the animals and the insects are treated well and continue to grow, because the rate of insect and degradation of insects in our soil, which alludes to the fact that we have unhealthy vegetables when the insects aren't there, and then unhealthy people. So we have to understand soil health. We have to understand a healthy garden and healthy foods so that we make better choices. So we will celebrate Earth Day not on the 22nd of April, which is Earth Day, but we will celebrate it on the 29th from 2 to 6 to help you better understand a healthy soil and a healthy place. And I Grow Food is the organization that helped us build our food forest out back. Some of them will be there. And so we're super excited. And then any of you who have diabetes or suffer from weight and want to learn
Is this
more.
a clothing optional?
No, it's
event?
clothing. It's no clothing
figured-
optionals. Then any of
It's all
you who
natural.
still want to learn more about weight loss and diabetes, you can check Shield of Life out. You can check us out on YouTube. We'd love you to follow us. We'd love you to add comments, and we'd love to help you stay healthy. So one of the ways you can do that is listen to some of the advice, try to follow it, and if you want deeper dive of support, you can always join our Shield of Life community and our classes and our coaching programs to help you transform your life.
Because if
So
you're coming out,
shieldoflife.com on YouTube.
yeah, but if you're coming out to Naked Earth Day on the 29th,
It's not Naked Earth Day. Don't
better
listen
be
to
in
Uncle
shape.
Scott,
Yeah.
Mr. Scott,
Yeah, don't
Dr. Scott.
You better be in shape if you're taking your clothes off.
You're
'cause
not taking
Andrea,
your clothes off.
Andrea will denigrate you in public. She's not afraid to do that.
No.
She'll say, "Yeah, I can help you. You're obese." So if you're coming out here and you're planning on showing your stuff, make sure you work out. Right?
No, we don't do Naked Earth Day. We do a wonderful
I'm
Earth
gonna
Day
be naked.
teaching you. No, you'll be probably working. So anyways, with that, we're going to wish you, a very happy Easter. Although we have 2 more weeks, so we might be able to talk more about
Yeah, I think
Easter.
we'll be back before Easter.
Yeah,
This
we got
is-
next week. But sometimes we get so busy, we don't have consistent
That's true.
shows.
That's
We
true.
love to be here every week, but between your schedule and mine and your crazy call schedule, then we may not be here. And the week before Easter, I will be out of town.
Oh my gosh! I'm gonna go myself.
I'll be at the obesity conference.
I will
so I can
definitely
come
be
back and
naked in the
tell
food
you.
forest that week.
Yeah, actually, the week right after Easter is a week when I'll be gone. So,
All right. Well, okay. You guys, we can have a second party when Andrew is gone.
a healthy party. The live along life party.
All right, we're gonna do live a long life. That's right. Live long and prosper. Right. That's all we can ask for.
Right.
All right, guys. We're gonna wrap it up. If you have any questions for myself or Dr. Andrew, as always, you can email us at the doctors and doctorisin@wnzf.com. Stay happy. Stay healthy. We'll see you next time the doctors are out.